This is the 2024 iPad mini 7th generation. I've been using it now for the last few months, and I personally think it's the best iPad that Apple make. Let me explain. So I came from the iPad 10th generation. I used the iPad as an iPad, as it was intended to be used, and honestly, I didn't really get much functionality out of it. I just found it too big and clunky to carry around with me, and so I ended up using it like a laptop. So I picked up a Logitech Combo Touch keyboard case. That was fine. It definitely felt like a laptop, but it just doesn't have the capabilities that a MacBook has. So I always found myself bringing the MacBook with me and leaving the iPad 10, and it really just got to the point where I wasn't even using it. It was just collecting dust, and so I just straight up sold it. And honestly, using the iPad mini has been an absolute breeze. The size and form factor just makes me want to use it more. I end up just carrying it with me more places, to coffee shops, on trips when I'm going for a shoot. And because of the small size and all the features you get, because it's an iPad, I just find it more useful than my phone. The design really hasn't changed much. You got the same dimensions as last year, still with the super thick big bezels and the 60Hz display. And honestly, yes, it can seem like a deal breaker when you're looking at it from far away, especially when comparing it to the other iPad Pro models with their beautiful OLED displays and 120Hz refresh rate. But after using the iPad mini now for the past few months, I found that it doesn't actually bother me anymore. The bezels kind of just fade away and I kind of forget about them. 60Hz you can kind of see from time to time. Apple did fix the kind of jello effect when you're scrolling, but it never really bothered me, and so still never does. And I always found with the bigger iPads, I just always use them in landscape mode, but with the mini, I find that I can use it portrait and landscape interchangeably, and it feels natural in both orientations. So it has an 8.3-inch liquid retina display, 2266 by 1488 resolution, so it looks fairly sharp to the eyes. It only gets 500 nits of brightness, so it can be a little bit tricky to see, especially outdoors. And like I mentioned, you got the 60Hz. In terms of build quality, it's made of aluminum. It is super thin metal, and I already got a dent on the back somehow. No idea how that happened. I think I just dropped it or bumped it maybe in my bag, and somehow it already has that imperfection on it, which is super annoying. So you do have to be careful. It's definitely not a deal breaker, but it's absolutely not the most rugged thing that Apple's ever made. In terms of the chip, this is rocking the A17 Pro, which is definitely more than capable from my experience. It's the same chip as the iPhone 15 Pro, and it's paired with 8GB of RAM. I went for the base model at 128GB. Personally, I just kind of keep stuff in the cloud, so having the base storage amount wasn't really a problem for me. You have a 12 megapixel camera on the back paired with a flash, which is super great for just scanning in documents. And my favorite is the front camera. You have a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and it's honestly just amazing for if you're doing video calls. So right now I'm recording this video on the front camera of the iPad mini, and yeah, field of view is ridiculous. Even dynamic range is surprisingly pretty good. And this is the microphone quality. So yeah, I feel like this is definitely good enough for video calls. It looks kind of stunning right now. Battery life is super solid on this iPad. I honestly find it to be great, especially considering it's such low brightness and such a small screen. I definitely could use this on a whole long haul flight and throughout the whole day. I don't use it like intense, but I can easily play games, consume content, I can take notes, and I don't even have to worry about the battery life. And considering you only need 20 watts to charge this up, you can charge it up from pretty much most power banks. I do wish the screen was a little bit brighter. I do wish there was 120Hz ProMotion, which we can only hope for in the future. But even with those flaws, I've found that this iPad is enough for what I need. For reading, content consumption, writing, and video editing, I found it to be perfect. I also paired it with a matte finish paper-like screen protector, which massively helps with glare, and it gives an overall better experience when you're writing. A big step up for me was the fact that this iPad now has the wireless charging feature for the pencil. I know a lot of other iPads had that, but the iPad 10 did not. And I always used to hate just plugging it in all the time. It was just frustrating. And so I really like how you can use the standard new Apple Pencil on here, as well as the Apple Pencil Pro. The Apple Pencil Pro now has built-in Find My, so if you lose the pencil, you can go ahead and find it in your Find My application. There's also a squeeze gesture to bring up the menu so you can customize the pencil color and type. And there's also a barrel roll feature as well for brush control. For me, I use the Apple Pencil constantly. It's a must-have feature for the iPad in my opinion, because I'm constantly jotting down notes and signing documents, which is kind of the main use I get out of this. And I absolutely love how the Pro has haptics inside the pencil, and you feel the haptic wherever you press on the pencil, which is crazy. You may be wondering what case I'm using on this iPad mini. That's today's video sponsor, which is Moft. This is the Moft Dynamic Folio Case, and I've got the version for the iPad mini. The case has a unique origami-inspired folding design with 21 different modes for watching, typing, and drawing. They make it for all the different iPad models, but this is the world's first ultra-light floating creativity station. We're talking a folio case that literally lifts your iPad into the perfect angle, whether you're consuming content, writing, drawing, or even just calling into your next meeting. This is an awesome case that definitely has enhanced my experience using the iPad. My favorite mode is theater mode. It's crucial for stable, high-angle viewing at your desktop, and it's great if you're using your iPad as a second display while you're out and about, because it keeps your iPad nice and high up, especially for the mini, it's super important. Or you can fold it down into creation mode at 30 degrees, and then you can go ahead and sketch, write, or edit without putting strain on your neck. You can be in a super comfortable position. There's also a lap mode, so you can go ahead and put it on your leg and then write on it while you're sitting down, and you can also hold onto it and put it on your arm and write on it the same way. If you need to multitask, you can actually prop up your phone combined with your tablet together in this dual screen mode. It gives you a seamless note-taking experience while you're watching content on your phone. Flip it vertical and boom, you have an instant distraction-free reading space. And there's also a removable magnetic Apple Pencil holder, so if you don't have the Pro with Find My and you're worried about losing your pencil, you can pick up this holder which magnetically attaches inside, and then it will keep your Apple Pencil nice and safe. All of this, and it's still ultra thin and ultra light. It folds completely flat, slides into my bag, there's no bulk, and it's made of a premium Movis P vegan leather, and it feels really sleek and looks minimalistic. The whole reason I got the iPad mini was for it to be light and super portable, and so the fact that this case is one of the lightest out there, and actually lighter than the official Apple case, with all the folding features in, makes it a no-brainer. You can use the code MATT10 on the Moft website. I'll leave a link down below and you will get a 10% discount. Thank you so much to Moft for sponsoring today's video. But this thing absolutely shines on flights or long commutes. I download movies, shows, and I use my mini like an entertainment hub while on the go. The size makes it super easy to just pull out and use anywhere, cafes, airplane seats, Ubers, and that's something the larger iPads just can't match. Now obviously the iPad mini is nowhere near as powerful as some of the iPad Pros with the M series chips, but it's still more than capable, rocking last year's Pro chip from the iPhone 15 Pro. This thing can handle games, Final Cut video editing, it can even handle DaVinci Resolve, and while not quite as fast, it does get the job done. I can edit my YouTube shorts, reels, or even long form video on the go using this iPad, which is straight up crazy. Most mobile games run super smooth on this iPad at high settings, and pairing a controller makes this a legit portable gaming device. With this iPad 7th generation, you now have Apple Intelligence, which you didn't have last year, and honestly, I'm not a massive fan of Apple Intelligence. I find that Siri is just pretty bad. It's pretty useless when it comes to asking most questions, other than setting reminders or asking the weather. It leans way too heavily on ChatGPT integration, and I definitely feel like Apple overpromised. But I guess it is really nice to have notification summaries as well as writing tools. And I really like the object eraser feature where you can just circle something and it will remove it. It's definitely not the best, and I find myself, going to Photoshop for bigger jobs, but just for on the go, if you want to quickly remove some imperfection, you can do that. It now has the redesigned calculator app that lets you write out equations and do conversions straight up inside the app. And having split screen multitasking on such a small device really does level this up from just using your iPhone. I especially find that using the Files app is amazing on this iPad because you can plug in your SSDs, your SD card readers, and you can go ahead and organize files, edit straight from the card in Lightroom or DaVinci, and it almost feels like a little portable computer, which I think is amazing. So just a little update, Apple released iPadOS 26 a few days ago, and that was right in the middle of my review video, so some of the video doesn't have this new software on, and I must say it really enhances the experience, specifically of the iPad mini, because it brings a lot of those pro features like windowed applications as well as Stage Manager
to the Mini. And overall, it just enhances my productivity. It kind of feels like I have a miniature MacBook in my backpack now, just because it's got better file management. You can now have multiple apps running at the same time. And there's also a new toolbar menu at the top of the screen, similar to on Mac OS. So now when you're in full desktop-like applications, you have file, edit, all those options at the top of the screen. And the overall experience with this new software is great. I'd say it really enhances this iPad and actually makes me want to recommend it more than I already wanted to recommend it, which was pretty high on the spectrum.
Battery life for me has been great. I watch a lot of videos on this. I'm pretty much always reaching for this to watch content. I'm also always using this for taking notes on videos, as well as things I have to do. And just for general browsing and gaming, I can easily get through a full day of using this iPad. Something I want to be completely real about is I feel like iPads always used to be a portrait device. Then, as they started to get bigger and more advanced, I kind of feel like they just turned into a landscape device, despite the Apple logo on the back. I still feel that's the case. Even on the iPad mini, there's a lot of wasted space on the home screen on the sides in portrait orientation. But inside most apps, I find that it's definitely usable in portrait mode more than the bigger Pro models. So here's my final verdict about the iPad mini 7th generation. It doesn't try to be a laptop replacement or a productivity monster like the iPad Pro, and I feel like that's what makes it great. This iPad focuses on those raw iPad features, and that's why I feel like it's the most iPad, which I absolutely love. It's portable, powerful, perfect for everyday use, and the Apple Pencil Pro support with the A17 chip makes this so capable.
I kind of advertise this iPad as the most iPad, and I'd still say it is, but with the new iPadOS 26, it now gives you two options. You can use it as an iPad or as a miniature computer. So now you can have the 2-in-1, which you didn't have before. So I'd say it's a massive improvement. And this is now even more my favorite iPad that Apple's ever made.
So do let me know your thoughts. Are you going to pick up the iPad mini? Do you want something small like this to use just as an iPad? Or do you want something more like a laptop? Remember, while you're down there, definitely do subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.